Hello, this is Angelia with today's wisdom. Today's wisdom comes from Daily Buddhist Wisdom. Free from anger, duties observed, principled, with no overbearing pride, trained, a last body. He's what I call a Brahmin. Like water on a lotus leaf, a mustard seed on the tip of an awl, he doesn't adhere to sensual pleasures. He's what I call a Brahmin. That's from Dhammapada 26, translated by Thanissaro, Bhikkhu. That's right. If you are free from anger, that's going to help your life a whole lot. Because there's a lot of people, they get angry at every little thing, they have no patience, and they have conflict with other people almost all the time. I know a few people like that, and their lives are hard. And it's because, they're not free from anger. In fact, they're very friendly and full of anger. So, friendly with anger and full of anger. So that makes their life all the harder. And duties observed. We should all have something that we're supposed to be doing every day, even if it's something you decide you're supposed to be doing every day. I have things that I decide I need to be doing. Those are my duties as far as I'm concerned. You should meet those because that gives your life purpose. You're doing something and you have a purpose. There are people who have no purpose. There are people who don't want a purpose. They want to just lay on the couch and watch TV all day. And that's their purpose in life, is just to be entertained. Are we entertained? That's not really a life. That's just existing. So if you have duties, even if they're duties you assign yourself, and you observe those duties and do them every day, your life's going to be fuller. It's going to be richer, and you're going to feel like you are having a life. Principled, again, you have to stick to it. It's all too easy sometimes to say, I'm not going to do that, or I'm going to skip this, or whatever. And then that always causes problems. Like I know, I skipped exercise for a few weeks because I didn't feel good, and I could tell, I could tell. So, being principled will help you in life. And overbearing pride. There are some people who are so prideful, People have commented about me saying, but I'm not really. I'm not. I mean, I'll be honest with you, but I'm not, puffed up and think I'm all this great person. Because I know, I'm just a human being like, everybody else. And I might have my life a little more together. But that's because of the life I've lived. I've had a lot of experiences in life that have taught me how I don't want to be and how to overcome things that happen to you in your life. And I've got an education that has helped me, to do that. Been through things that have helped me to do that. So, it's not about me thinking I'm great. It's about I've learned a lot of stuff in my life that have helped me to live a better life and be a better person. So, but there are people I know who are just so too big for the britches, all puffed up, and they think they're great. I was at, an event one time, and there was this woman, and she was participating, and she seemed really nice and everything, but she was wearing, a t-shirt that had a certain animal on it, and this other woman, a thin woman, came over to her and said, I would never wear that. If I was your size, I would I was like, oh my gosh, did she really just say that to her? That's so rude. And so I asked the woman, what it was about, and, she said her cousins own this, thing. And I said, my sister-in-law and my nephews do this other thing. It's not the same, but, we started talking about stuff like that. I think I made her feel a little bit better before she left. I never saw her again, never saw the other woman again. But I just thought, how mean is that? And how insecure and miserable do you have to be that you're going to comment on somebody else's, clothing and say, even hint that maybe you look like this animal. I would never wear that, and it's like, how insecure and mean do you have to be to go out of your way to insult somebody, just to make you feel better? That is prideful, and it goes back to insecurities. And if you think you're there's some people in this country now who think their poop don't stink. They are just the height of humanity. And once you start taking that apart, you realize they're like the lowest piece of humanity. It's like the Emperor's New Clothes when the little kid said, "Dude, he's naked." They're because they thought they were full if they couldn't see the big fancy clothes, and the kid was just being honest. So, and again, trained. If you're going to do something, you should be trained in that. My youngest son, he wanted to go to school and be trained. We got him into the school, and then he changed his mind and wanted to be trained in something else. And then he's got a good career in doing this other thing. So, if you want to do something, you need to be trained. Like I say, I got a PhD, equivalency ring here because I knew I couldn't get a license in the state I lived in. So, I did my full curriculum. I got all my studies in. I just didn't do a dissertation and, defend it, and didn't, apply for an internship because I knew I couldn't get a license here in my state, which is a shame, but that's the way it is here. So, I got my training, when I was, excuse me, being a life coach. I got training for that. When I was doing psychological first aid, I got training for that. And then when I was a psychological consultant, I, like I said, got my degree, so I could have my training for that. So if you're going to do anything, you need to be trained for what you're going to do. As far as the last body terminology here, that could mean there's different folks, but I believe the final product is what we're going for here. The best you can be, and that takes practice. No one was born just being the perfect you they could be, except maybe Jesus. So the rest of us, we're gonna have to do a little work. And of course, Brahman is the terminology that they use as a high, spiritual person. And water on a lotus leaf. If you've ever had like lily pond or anything like that, you know that on the lotus leaf the water will sit there. And if it gets tipped or anything, the water will kind of roll off. That lotus leaf, sits there, and that's like why frogs and salamanders and birds and everything can hang out on it. The mustard seed on the tip of an awl, again, we know how a mustard seed is. Jesus used that in one of his parables. Most of us know what an awl is, like an ice pick or whatever. And it's a tiny little thing. So, it can sit there. If it's like in that position, it can sit there. And he doesn't adhere to sensual pleasures. There are a lot of people, the sensual pleasures rules their life. They're hedonistic. Ooh, I want that. Ooh, I want that. And I know people in the past who that's pretty much, how they lived, from the next to the next. And that's a shame, because I believe in love, and I believe that there is, divine love. And to me, just bed hopping, if you want to call it that, it holds nothing. It holds nothing, So why bother? In all honesty, why bother? So again, if you avoid all these sensual pleasures in life and work on your spirituality, work on yourself, you can become a higher spiritual person. And that's not for everybody. A lot of people don't want to do that much work. They don't even want to bother with that. Yeah, that's, who cares? So, but anyway, the Dhammapada was onto something there. Think about it. Please like and share this wisdom so we can spread it around the world. If you want to help me out, subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you want to help me out even more, go to my Patreon page and become a patron. Thanks for watching. That's all for now. Until next time.